Hello, everyone, and welcome to RevMD's Sex Bites podcast with me, your host, Dr. Deborah Durst, and my co-host.
Hey guys, Fairday Golombieski, nurse practitioner with RevitalyzeMD. So today we are going to talk about another supplement that we've been hearing a lot about. It has been on TikTok. It has been brought up by our camera guys asking questions about it. Is it true? Is it true? Are you guys going to explore it? And that supplement is ashwagandha.
That's right. We have been receiving lots of questions about it, and we had a lot of questions ourselves about it because we know it to be an adaptogen. So like stress relieving. So adaptogens are herbs that have been used for centuries that are safe, but will support the adrenal gland wherever it is. So if the adrenal gland's overstressed or under producing, then it kind of supports it wherever it needs to, wherever the support is needed.
Exactly.
And so that's what we know it as, is an adaptogen and adrenal support.
Yeah. So what ashwagandha is, it comes from an evergreen that is indigenous to Africa, Asia areas. And like Dr. Durr said, in the medical field, we know it as, great for stress, has some support for sleep and quality of sleep. There is some information out there that it can help with lowering blood sugar. It can also help with lowering blood pressure. So you have to be careful if you are taking antihypertensives or anti-diabetic medication. It can also, there is some stuff out there about how it can you have to watch
immune support too.
Yeah. And you have to watch if you're taking other medications, because if it is increasing a kind of immune system response and we're trying to treat something, it can be too much. And even with thyroid, it can increase thyroid hormone. So there are all these things, not a lot of it because it's supplements, aren't super supportive medically. There aren't a ton of studies, but we hear ashwagandha and we go, yeah, stress.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's the dose that you're doing. So again, too high a dose is not a good thing and so you want to make sure that, and again, when we start talking about this from a sexual wellness standpoint, which is why it's on TikTok and all over the places, you want to make sure you're not overusing because it can cause problems. But if it's actually reducing cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and supporting your adrenal gland, if you have lowering of your cortisol, you'll have lowering of your blood sugar and some blood sugar regulation. So just from a logical standpoint, that made sense to me.
Exactly.
But the other stuff, an immune support, of course, if you're stressing and your adrenal gland isn't functioning, you're never going to get the immune support that you want. So, all of the fear and the stress with the pandemic is actually creates immune dysfunction. So it's not helpful to live in fear because your adrenal gland's going to put out some cortisol and then you're just not going to have that immune response that you want.
Exactly.
So that all kind of just makes sense. But the sexual wellness part was a new twist, that we really hadn't looked into much, but we kept getting questions. So
I had to go onto TikTok to see what he was talking about. Our cameraman specifically, that's like, what about, does it help with libido? Does it help with sexual function? I was like, no, it helps with stress.
Yeah, exactly. And I've even had some young men asking, like really young. So again, it's all over the place right now.
It's everywhere. Yeah, I had a patient recently go, yeah, I've added it in. Because I read that it can do, on TikTok, it said it can help with libido. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So we did some digging.
And in fact, it does have effects on hormones. And again, some of that makes sense because your hormone pathway is related to your cortisol pathway. So if you're increasing your cortisol production because you're stressed and you're taking an adaptogen that improves that, then you'll shunt it back over to improve testosterone. And in fact, that's one of the effects, is increasing your testosterone level.
So in 2019, the American Journal of Men's Health put out a study on hormone and vitality effects of ashwagandha. And what they came up with, it was a little bit of a smaller study, but it was randomized. It was a double blind, so a valid study. So something you can look at and go, okay, this was not somebody giving to their friends and recording it and blogging about it. It's an actual study that has validity. And out of 50 overweight men between the ages of 40 and 70, what they found was a 18% increase in DHEA serum levels and a 14.7 increase in testosterone serum levels of those taking ashwagandha over a 16-week program. So when you look at that and you go 16 weeks and we have that kind of increase in DHEA and testosterone, now it makes sense. Okay, well, this is why they have better well-being. This is why their libido is improving. This is why they feel like their function has gotten a little bit better. But in the big scheme of things, 14% isn't that much if your testosterone's 200. So it's not going to replace hormone replacement in some, but our younger ones who probably don't have a testosterone deficiency and are increasing their DHEA and testosterone levels by 18 and 14% probably are seeing a little bit of a difference there.
Because they're already, high in their testosterone.
Exactly.
And so, again, peaking it a little bit naturally is a good thing.
And
again,
we
it
know.
all makes kind of sense. Like if your cortisol is no longer sucking down the DHEA, which, again, all of that, like cholesterol goes to DHEA and then it can go to cortisol or it can go to your sex hormones. So if it's not going to cortisol because you're supporting it, then it's going to go back over. So you'll increase your DHEA and testosterone. So it all just makes sense from a logical standpoint. So I like
knowing
to
the
think
pathway.
Through, I like to think through things and like, does that make sense? Because it's easier for me to memorize and then, explain to patients if it all makes sense. So,
and we've done a podcast on DHEA before, and in that podcast, you can refer back to it. We go very in depth into DHEA. So if you are interested in how that can help, definitely look there. But just to kind of sum it up, DHEA has an inverse relationship with cortisol. So as DHEA is coming up, cortisol levels are going down. So that's how you can have a better overall well-being feeling.
With an adaptogen that's going to improve all your stress. And your adrenal gland is your stress gland. So if you're supporting your adrenal gland, you improve everything else. But it did also talk about the fact that it increases sperm quality, so... and potentially, fertility, therefore. So that's another improvement. And so that was a big thing. So, DHEA, testosterone improvement, the sperm quality, and again, a few different studies, that kind of show and document that, not huge amounts. But again, I think, and then even like an aphrodisiac, I saw a couple articles about that as well. So, but it all kind of makes sense. If your testosterone is higher, your libido's
It's
better,
going up.
Your sperm quality is better. So it all kind of makes sense. So
erectile dysfunction is 20% hormonal. So,
Correct.
It's going to help there as well. So not a completely busted fact.
Correct.
On TikTok, there's some validity to it. It's not a one and done by any means, but as a supplement, ashwagandha might be pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely. Our vote is for adrenal support and ashwagandha. Thumbs up.
Right.
Double thumbs up for it. Yes.
But the caveat is don't ever take anything without talking to your physician, especially if you have a lot of multiple comorbidities like the thyroid and diabetes and the hypertension or any autoimmune stuff that it may interact with. So with that, don't go and be like, oh, they said it's good, and then load up on it.
Yes. Yeah.
Moderation. It's a supplement. Don't overdo it. If you don't feel good on it, stop it. And for the most part, if you're talking about adaptogens or adrenal support, you can get these at supplement stores. So it's not something, that you have to, it's not a prescription. These are all supplements. Supplements aren't regulated. So definitely finding a reputable source. So we have professional lines in the office, but also just finding a vitamin store that has a long history and that you trust is making those right product decisions. And so, and then taking the dose that's recommended there, not off your, testosterone blogs. More is not always better, guys.
Yeah, exactly. and then again, but it makes sense. So like ashwagandha is supporting your adrenal gland. That's your stress gland. So if you have less stress and less cortisol, you have better blood sugar control. You now have more hormone or sex hormone production. So for women too, it works. You
Exactly.
know, because you're going to have more in the way of sex hormone production. So sexual wellness for women is another area that you can use it. So,
And who couldn't use a little help with stress too? Because, you know, that's its main commonly used
yes,
indication.
absolutely. And then it does, you know, supposedly sharpen memory and focus a little bit. And then again, it has
testosterone.
Yeah. And has some, exactly. So that is part, if you think of anything that improves with testosterone, you're really thinking that this will have that same effect, you know, but it's just going to boost it a little bit.
Yeah.
That's
on
all.
an extremely downscaled result.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So this is, if you're not optimal, your hormones are optimal, this is not going to get you where you want to be. If you're young and healthy and you want to add a little boost, then I think this could potentially add that boost you want. And it's a supplement, but take at recommended doses on the bottle, get it at a reputable source. And again, if you have medical problems, check with your doctor. And then heart health is potentially another thing. But again, it just kind of all makes sense that if you're less stressed and cortisol is not good for the heart, that all of that is going to improve your blood pressure. All of that should improve. So
exactly.
So let us know if there's something that we missed and you have some real science and or experience with
or
ashwagandha,
a good study. I love a good study.
Then share it with us in the comments. Definitely like, subscribe, share with friends. Let us know anything else you might want to hear about. And again, we're here to revitalize your look, your health, and your sex life.
Thank you.
Thanks.